Welcome to the Consumers. My name is Greg Warren. I am joined once again by Sean O'Brien.
Greg, how we doing, buddy?
Pretty good,
Great.
pretty good. I see you got that Duncan shirt on for the White Castle episode.
Yeah, we cross promote here on the show.
We had a Duncan episode.
We did. I thought it's a little overkill. It's kind of like wearing a concert T-shirt, like the band.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a?
To that
you
episode.
know,
Yeah.
you can't do that. You can't you can't. So it's like I can't wear a Duncan shirt on a Duncan. We already got the
I like where you're going.
You had to make sure you didn't wear any of your White Castles.
Yeah.
I
mean, I have 5 White Castle shirts, and I'm like, not today, guys.
But we do a podcast. You do a deep dive, a conversation with your friends, and then you feel connected to that brand a little bit.
Yeah.
I saw a bunch of Duncans over the weekend, and I was like, wanted to share facts with people.
Should mention him also with Tim Convey.
Thanks, Greg.
You're wearing some sort of bakery.
Local bakery.
Okay.
Yeah, Duke
St. Louis Bakery.
Across the river. Yeah.
I did get my feelings hurt a little bit before the podcast. Tim was asking Sean like 30 questions about the Duncan shirt, and Sean answered all the questions, but failed to mention that it was a gift from his buddy, Greg Warren.
He just flat out bought you a Duncan shirt?
That is debatable. Now let me explain. Now listen, just relax. Don't go flipping out here. I have this is a Wisconsin blue. I have a Michigan pink. And so I thought
what is
maybe
the significance of the
I think I bought both of them for you. We stopped at
okay, the
Appleton.
Michigan I remember. So
Yeah,
that's
I'm
all.
pretty sure we bought. I think I bought both of them for you. Buddy.
All right, well, it's very sweet of you, man.
In
Thank
fact,
you.
I'm sure I did. Because you were like, "Hey, come on, yeah."
You definitely bought one. I cannot commit to 2, but I will say it's highly possible. So
Okay.
That's
I
not
just
what
wanted to be
looking
clear.
for. Highly
Are you driving
possible.
through? Are you going into the shop?
We go in. That's the one gift I get on the road is that if Greg lets me, if there's a Duncan, he will stop the trip, go in. And honestly, not a headache. He's no attitude. No, I guess.
It's the only gift he gets on the road.
That's about it, man. It's tough sledding
Other
out there.
than the actual gig on the road. Let me tell you, that's a gift. All right?
Hey, man, we've talked about this.
Good looking shirt.
A few weeks ago. I'm very passionate about Duncan.
I know.
And so I have 3 of this. I need 47 more.
As long as I'm talking about Duncan, I want to check in. We make some promises on this podcast. It's the episodes standalone, but they also tie together like a great TV series. During the Duncan episode, you had said within 30 days you would secure a Duncan black card. Just want to check on the progress on that.
I'm not going to talk about that right now because I still have time. So
Okay.
well,
No,
you
I'm
should
not
be
asking.
bringing that up in 30 days when time's up. I'm working on it.
In 16 days. But
Have you made any effort?
have you made any effort?
No.
Look, I'm not. Look, we'll find out. We have what, about 12 days left, roughly. So we'll talk about that. I'm not going to.
Should
get into
also
it.
mention our producer on this podcast. You'll hear his voice from time to time, and you'll see his work all the time. Randy Cash. Say hello, Randy.
Hello, Randy.
There you go. Randy, sometimes we like you to referee some things going on in this podcast. Hearing what you just heard, how much work do you think Sean put into, how much effort did he put into getting a Duncan black card on a scale of 1 to 100?
Probably 38%.
No way.
There's no
Good, man.
He hasn't,
Tim?
he hasn't even thought about it
He
since,
hasn't.
since we
He
walked out.
forgot that he made. He forgot it. Like Sean, it was the most important thing in the world to him when he
Yeah.
said it. He completely forgot that he made that promise until right now. Is how I'm going on it.
Guys, I'm moving. I got other things happening, man. Maybe I've looked into it. Maybe I haven't. The point is that I have about another 12 days or whatever whatever we had.
Okay.
So,
All right, we'll check back.
Yeah, we'll check back. And
check
then,
back.
you can hold my feet to the flames if I don't have
I'm
the
gonna
card.
put that as a no progress.
Yeah, that's a 0.
I haven't done anything.
We should also update you. The studio is ever changing.
Yeah.
We're making a few ads here. We did put up a salmon there. Sean, you want to explain what that is?
I do want to explain. That is quite simply, that's a salmon T-shirt. That is a salmon shirt.
And then you sell these at the end of your show, yes?
Yeah.
For $20?
Sell them for $20 usually.
What
Sometimes.
do they cost you?
$19. So not getting rich in this one, gang. But
well, it's about giving the people.
That's the whole
we're
point.
kind of in the grocery business.
Yep.
That's kind of the profit margin at a grocery store.
Yeah,
Probably
or maybe a
between
loss leader.
1 and
Could I
5.
say loss leader there?
No, you're not losing money on it.
Oh, well, okay. Fair enough. You know what I'm saying, though. Bottom line is, so I sell them. I do sell them.
Product. He gets people in the door with the shirt. And
I do sell them.
That I get. Yeah.
99.99% of the shows.
Yeah, Sean sells these shirts. It's a reference to a joke in his act about salmon T-shirt, salmon colored T-shirt. I don't want to give the joke away, really. I don't think. No, let's
don't
not
give it away because it's just
so
good.
You need to come see Sean's show, and you should. It's actually it's a very good show, and it's a very good joke. I saw that joke sort of from its inception, and it's kind of come along. So that's his shirt that he sells. I believe he said 99.99% is how often he sells the shirts because there was an incident, and Sean and I were working in Appleton, Wisconsin. Pretty sure that's where I bought him that shirt. We were working at the Skyline Comedy Club, good comedy club there. And Sean, the way a comedian does is they'll do their joke, and then about 20 minutes later when they're getting ready to wrap up, they'll say, "Hey, you guys remember that joke about the salmon? I've got a salmon shirt." People laugh because they love it. They love it. They love the simplicity of the shirt, almost the stupidity of the shirt. And I mean that in a good way.
No, it is.
It's a silly shirt.
It's so silly.
But
it's fun.
People always laugh. So we're doing this show in Wisconsin, and Sean gets to the end of his act. He goes, "Hey guys, I got the salmon shirt," and I'm in the back. And they're all kind of like, "Oh, yeah."
There's a shirt with a fish on it.
A shirt with a fish on it. And I'm like, I don't think he did the salmon joke. I don't think he did the salmon joke. And then I'm like, no, he definitely did the salmon. He wouldn't forget the salmon joke. That's what the whole thing is about. And they're just staring at him. And they're polite. They're not being mean.
Yeah, but it's pretty quiet. Usually you get, you'll engender a laugh out of the shirt. They say, "Oh, I see what he did with the joke." They start laughing.
What
Let's take a time out there.
What did you just say?
He said you'll engender a laugh. I don't. Do you have like a word of the week calendar you're using or something?
Did he use that product?
Who are you?
You're like, whoa!
It's the first time.
Engender.
It's the first time that we've heard you say a word over 2 syllables.
No, Ian.
Ian. Engender. Cause or give rise to. Yeah.
He got it. He
nailed it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Where'd you get it?
Yeah. Where'd I get? I don't know,
where
man.
did you get it?
Yeah. Where'd you get it?
You've never said that before.
I've known you for a long time. You never said engender.
All we're doing is talking about laughs.
I don't know. I'm having very ambivalent feelings about this show right now.
Are you trying another one?
Engender's not
Is that
a word.
one? Was that too heavy for you guys?
No, but dude,
ambivalent. I buy it.
Engender a laugh.
I mean, I like it. I like it. You're reading, or I think you've got one of those.
The word you think it's worded. I really don't, man.
Yeah.
I swear.
All right, it's an email of the day.
You're trying to say
okay.
You've used that word a bunch of times.
Yeah, I don't, man. I don't keep score.
In that context, even like, "Oh, hey, buddy, how was the set tonight?" I engendered.
Hey, man,
engendered
whatever it
laughs.
is, you used it correctly.
I used it correctly, man. So
I know,
why am I on
impressed.
trial?
You're not on trial, buddy. You're not on trial. So, anyways, Sean usually he'll engender a laugh. When he shows a shirt. This time he disengendered a laugh. I don't think that's a word, but he didn't get a laugh. He didn't get a laugh. Okay, he held up his shirt. They weren't laughing, and I'm in the back. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
Think I think there's a chance he didn't. And then I go on stage as he's getting off. I go, "Hey, buddy, did you do the salmon joke?" And he just looks at me with sheer terror in his eyes.
I knew
Did
it, man.
you know?
No.
When you held it up
man.
and got nothing.
So let me speak. I mean, Greg's right, but I mean, like, it got nothing. Like, I mean, it was. I think I did something
they were confused.
"Oh, I'm sorry. I guess you guys have a problem with fish all of a sudden." Like, I try to be all cute with them. I'm like,
blamed them.
Oh, right after him. I was like, "Geez, Appleton, somebody gave you a break once. You don't have to be all sour with me." I was blown away. I was like, "Nothing on this." I go, "Yeah, I don't care." I was like, "I don't care. You're still gonna buy something. Just try to be cocky and fun." And I just didn't.
So when I said that, did you?
I bring Greg up, and I think in the handshake, maybe there was a host, and then I was walking back, you're walking by me, and you go, "Did you do the joke?" And then I just sat in it for 5 seconds, and it hit, and I didn't, and I exploded.
Then
while
what'd
he
you
was
do?
on stage.
You went back to the green room,
Oh,
which the
man.
green room is full of like at that club, they have the most candy. It's like Zanies in Nashville. They have like all the candy and food that you want. And what'd you do back there?
I don't know, knocked stuff over. Probably ate some too, but nonetheless, threw a little bit of a fit. It's embarrassing, man. You look, you're a clown. I mean, I'm already, up there doing clown stuff. Then the thing is, if I didn't have such a cocky attitude, it wouldn't be as bad. But I'm like, you guys know this is good. You'll buy one. Don't act like you're not buying one of these shirts. And so at that point, you're like, well, after the show, I already pitched the shirt?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I remember what I did. I went on stage,
Greg.
I went on stage and just laid into him. And here's the thing. I was going to do it anyway, but I knew if I laid into him hard enough, they'd feel sorry for him. Dude, you sold probably 20 shirts.
They did. Sold.
He engendered a ton of sales.
I engendered a ton of sales.
I think I sold 3 shirts, but I think I made like $200 because I think some people were just saying like,
dude, money
I don't want a shirt.
For him.
Just get the help you need, man. You're yelling at us about a joke you didn't do. Here's $50 and go see a highly qualified psychiatrist. And they weren't wrong to think that. And I had to sit there and just laugh with them and be like, yep, I tried to dump. Hey, you guys, this happens to the best of us, I swear. I don't know in the history of comedy.
You were furious early on.
Yeah, I was
during my set, you were back in the green room throwing stuff, right?
I was I think I kicked something, Red Bull, whatever. I don't know. It was bad. And I know, and also it's with him. And this guy forgets nothing. And I'm like, not only is this just a poor moment, I'm going to hear this story for I called 15 years.
17 comics that night. I did. I called Gross. I called everybody. I was like, you're not going to believe what O'Brien did. I called Josh Arnold. He was so happy about it.
I got the call.
Yeah.
You got the call.
Yeah. Called Tim. It was awesome.
And it was probably more like 30, man. Yeah. So anybody who's ever shared a stage with me probably knows that I sold a shirt without doing the joke about the shirt.
And it adds to the legend of the shirt. Because
it is.
You clean up. You always have those guys that just have the right piece of merch, and you're that guy. You murder with those. My family's always, someone in my family, we just went on vacation, somebody in my family always wearing a salmon shirt.
Oh, that's really nice.
You guys went up to upstate New York?
Yeah, my brother lives just outside of Lake Placid, and so we all went up. And it's
Curran
fantastic.
Convey.
Yes,
his brother. He has another brother, Chris Convey.
Yeah,
and a sister, Khaki.
My sister, Khaki. We all went up there.
Everybody and the kids all went.
Kids, my parents. It was a lot. It's just hard to get to, especially with the little kids. And making it more challenging, we booked the tickets, and it's I'm Timothy Convey Jr. My dad is Timothy Convey Sr. My son is Timothy Convey III. So you book 3 tickets with the same name, and it's like, I'm like, do I need to get there early? They're like, 3 days early, to sort of like it's complicated. So we get there, it's fine on the way
for
there.
Every generation.
Yeah, exactly. The way back, we booked the tickets separately. I booked the departing. My sister booked everything back. We flew different airlines. It was just cheaper to do it that way. We're going through security at the end, and I scanned my thing, and they got a problem. And my ticket, I'm Timothy Convey Jr. My ticket said Timothy Convey II. My sister was just like booking it on her phone and was like, senior.
She forgot your name.
Second. Yeah, it's a different.
Your own sister.
Exactly. It's a different thing, the second.
Yeah.
So they go down. I'll spare you a bunch of it.
Rich people problem.
Yeah. This is, I got money and it's not a problem.
No, the second
I think the airport systems are fine with it, but the airport looks at it as like these multi-generational. Obviously, these guys own land somewhere, so we're going to stick it to them.
Create some challenges here and there. So we went back to the thing, and my dad is just so delighted that my son is Timothy, that I'm Timothy. So I'm at the counter. I'm like, hey, they said there was an issue. And I've got Timothy, my son, on the hip, and they're like, oh, let me guess, that's the third. And and then my dad pops out from behind me and goes, guess who I am? I bet you'll never guess.
What a great dad
That would be
play.
great if they just cuffed him right there.
Every ticket, he's like, Timothy. I'm like, Dad, you have to cut it out.
That's such a dad move too.
He loves it, and I don't want to warn him ahead of time, but he just cannot wait to tell people who don't care. They're not interested, but. Yeah, we made it. Had a really
that's
time.
a big deal for me. It's kind of like
what kind of recreational activities up there?
We got on a boat. My brother's got a boat up there, so cruised around on Lake Placid.
Nice.
Yeah, really, really cool. The kids did some swimming. I did not get in. Too cold for me. And then like hiking, even like little kid type hikes. It's super fun. And I got nephews. that are 7 and 5, and a niece. So it's quite a crew. And traveling with that many people is with that many children, especially, it's a challenge. But we did it. It was a good time.
And your brother Kern owns a diner up there that's famous for the pie. I think I had a blueberry pie one time or a peach pie.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any pies when you were up there?
Did the strawberry rhubarb?
Yeah, no, I had that. That's great. Yeah, it's great. It's really good. Yeah.
Kind of the star of the show up there at Noon Mark. So ate a lot of pie. I mean, they just bake and bake and bake. And the places where we stay are these really nice apartments right above the diner. So you wake up every morning
smelling pie
to those smells, and it's
And by the way, very challenging to make is pies.
I know you did.
Very true.
Have you made them?
I have attempted. I know you've done it.
Yeah, I made them. I think 3 Thanksgivings, and I make the crust too.
Yeah, no, that's you go.
I have equipment for it.
Yeah, no, I remember talking, man.
Greatest thing I've ever done is a French silk pie, and that is. It was very hard. There was this new equipment that I had to buy, and I don't even remember what it's called. But it was a double boiler. I had to get a double boiler. It's real good, man.
Yep.
Yeah, French silk pie.
Yeah, I mean, right now you're speaking language. I don't know. See, I could say engender. I've never heard of a double boiler. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. I wasn't trying to show off with double boiler.
Right.
It kind of felt low.
I might have been showing off. I might have been showing off some things I own, but I wasn't trying to show off my intellect, where you were like, I got this new calendar. I gotta work in gender.
He also acknowledged I had to buy a piece of equipment called. He acknowledged that it was a foreign new thing.
Yeah, all right.
He wasn't just
That's
telling
fair
a
enough.
story about a bit.
Yeah, that's all right. That's fair enough.
Engender. Yeah. Sean says engender.
Yeah, keep it up. You guys want to play with it? I'll do this every week. I'll have word of the week every time.
All right.
So you want to start right now? We'll start right now.
No, it's fine.
Okay, good.
We're happy you got out the word start. Our brand this week is White Castle.
Yes.
There it is right there. That is a box full of hamburgers, otherwise known as the Crave Clutch. There is a Crave case. That's a 20 hamburger pack. And you can get a 30 hamburger pack. That's the Crave case. White Castle was started by Walt Anderson and Billy Ingram. Those guys were hanging out at the Rotary Club. They met each other and they thought, let's make a hamburger restaurant. The first version of the restaurant was called White Castle System of Eating Houses. Bit of a mouthful.
Ring. It's got a real nice ring.
They also named the movie The Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Such a good movie.
You enjoy that movie, right? I don't think I've seen it. You said
it's fantastic.
Really?
Slow burn, really, really good.
Okay.
It is really good.
It was 1921, I believe. Yeah, 1921. Founded September 13th, 1921 in Wichita, Kansas. They started with $700. Couple of things. Upton Sinclair. Who's he, Tim?
He's the author who wrote the thing about the factory farms.
It's Jungle.
The Jungle.
Yep,
The Jungle. More impressive than Engender. He wrote The Jungle along with Axl Rhodes. No, The Jungle was a famous
Axl
book.
Rhodes, by the way. You said Rhodes. So
Yeah,
you're gonna try and give me on my fancy
Yeah.
word. You can't Axl Rhodes. We all heard it.
Are you the sharpest one on the podcast today?
Pretty good,
I think
man.
you are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Does not
firing
bode well
high.
for this podcast. That does not bode well for this thing at all.
You guys are
What's
falling
going
apart
on
today.
today?
Yeah. Okay. So the Upton Sinclair wrote The Jungle back in the early 1900s, and that book basically exposed the meat industry. And there was a lot of disgusting stuff that went in the meat industry, and it got in there, and people were basically horrified by things that happened in this book, and they were sort of terrified of beef. Like people were like, eating beef, And so White Castle's like, no, it's okay, and we're gonna name it White and Castle. White is supposed to mean like clean, pristine. Castle means permanence. We're going to be around for a long time, and we're going to stand behind our product, which I think is kind of entertaining to me because, like, it makes you think before them there were these like little hamburger restaurants opening up, and they were selling like horrible beef, and people were like, this is terrible. I'm going to go back to this place. Oh no, it's a Target. They're already gone. Like they're not here anymore. What happened? These guys are like, no, we're going to be here. We're going to be here. Castle means permanence, right?
But it's why they still feel so over the top, kind of sanitary and almost sterile is for that reason.
Yes. At one point, I think the employees had to wear clean white shirts, white pants, and aprons. Their hair was to be covered by a white paper cap, and their fingernails were to be kept clean. Okay, that seems sort of obvious.
Formal, yeah.
And no elaborate jewelry or wristwatches were strictly prohibited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of that is so they weren't like, is it quitting time yet?
I mean,
they're like,
yeah.
no, stay here.
Well, I mean, the big problem was one of their earlier employees in 1921 was Flava Flav, and he wore this big clock.
right.
He wore this big clock, and it
Sure
just
did.
kept getting into the fryer.
Onions just
And,
dropping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's against health code.
Which at one point they did try serving the dish fried Flava Flav clock.
Yep.
And people didn't care for it.
It bombed.
A lot of
Yeah.
mistakes you hear, like, oh, we did this and it fell in the fryer and we served it. It was great. Not
This one, no.
fried Flava Flav clock. It was
yeah.
tough.
Didn't fit on the little buns
Yeah.
either. It was
No,
they're
no, it was
way too big.
It was chewy. They are the first fast food restaurant in history.
Crazy.
Number one.
Yeah.
The first one. KFC came in 1930, Dairy Queen 1940, McDonald's 1940, but Ray Kroc took it over in 1955, Jack in the Box 1951. They are the first one to sell 1 billion burgers 2 years before McDonald's bragged about that. They do not have franchises. None.
Can I jump in?
You got a problem?
Throwing a flag.
I'm just saying, listen, 1 billion burgers. Well, yeah, you guys, you take essentially one real burger and you cut it into 4, essentially.
Yeah.
So let's just, you're
Sean is,
padding the stats on
yep.
that, and that is not cool.
You know what that reminds me of?
You know what this is 20 little burgers or 6 McDonald's burgers.
Yeah.
So let's stop it.
That's like
Now wait a minute. This is 1921, and these are not sliders. These are the 1921 burgers. We'll get to sort of our experience. We all had lunch there today, and I would say these are the burgers. See, they're not sliders. They don't have the onions. They don't have like the thin paste.
Right.
So this is what a burger looked like in 1921. Okay, it's probably, but a McDonald's burger, I bet you wasn't a whole lot bigger than this. Maybe.
it's bigger.
Okay. I
It's
mean,
bigger.
I
To
think you're going.
Sean's point-
My point is 3 to 1 is what they're doing.
Yes.
They're
It's-
padding 3 to
it's
1.
not 3 to
It's
1.
like how we did that. We did
2 to
the-
1 maybe, but whatever, man. Like, can you just give them a break? They all right. They were the first person. They got to 500 million burgers, and so you know what? Sean makes a great point. These guys are nothing. Episode over. It's not worth. We're done.
He's saying the numbers. It's like the Lego one. The Lego is the largest manufacturer of tires in the world. It's like, well, they're making tiny
Thank
little
you.
tires.
Pretty
and
small
it's
tires.
It's
There
the
you
same
go.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great point, man. I'm so glad that you brought it up.
You're welcome, buddy.
I like it, Sean.
There are no franchises. They own all the White
Incredible.
Castles. There's 300 of them, I believe, in the U.S. They own all of them. They have always owned all of them. I saw something that I thought was like, oh, you can now get a franchise for White Castle, and I called White Castle, and it said for franchise information, press 5, and I pressed 5, and it says, we do not have franchises.
Well, they took you to the finish line
Yeah,
just to stuff you.
Yeah.
That's a real thing that they did.
Yes, I
That's
swear.
incredible.
Which, if you call for franchise information, press 5. It's like, we do not have franchises. Which 6 was if you want the free billion hamburger giveaway, press 6. We do not have a free billion hamburger giveaway. They are vertically integrated.
Yeah.
Sean, that doesn't mean that they stack the buildings on top of each other.
What?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that. What it means is
No.
they sort of like, I'm not doing a good job of defining it. I'll give you an example. So they got these paper hats, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to use a lot of paper hats because we're making our guys wear paper hats. Why should we buy paper hats from some paper hat company? We're going to start our own paper hat company. It was called Paper Linen. Also, steel buildings. They're like, we're going to make these porcelain steel buildings. Okay. Let's just start a porcelain steel building company. And they did.
That stuff
now-
is so interesting because so many companies do things like that. You make it, but where do you draw the line? They didn't get into like the spatula game. They didn't get into all these other things. You know what I mean? They had to decide.
I mean, let's
Yeah.
take it. Well, for a while they were trying porcelain you paper linen buildings, and it just
You gotta
it
have the
didn't-
right combination.
Yeah, you got the right
That's true,
combination.
man.
Also, they were also trying. I mean, the creepy one would be like, hey, well, we got these hats that we also need humans. We need humans to work at these things. So let's get into the human making business. Maybe there's like sort of a White Castle cult or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, it could be bad. I'm
That
glad.
could
I'm
have been
glad.
bad.
I'm glad they drew the line.
The paper or the building company, the porcelain steel building company, helped build amphibious vehicles during World War II.
Yeah,
That's kind of cool.
yeah, it is really cool.
And then the White Castle, the actual building, we all kind of know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Some of our listeners may not, because they're in like 20 states. They're not all over, but they've probably they probably saw the Harold and Kumar movie, or they probably have driven on vacation and seen it. It's kind of iconic, but it was actually inspired by the Chicago water tower.
Oh,
Yeah. This is
it's one of my favorite water towers. If I had to.
Oh, Chicago
really?
is a nice one.
Where'd you
Chicago
rank
and
'em?
Rochester, New York, real sweet
Oh,
water
you
tower.
the hometown?
Yeah.
They got a good one?
I don't know, but it sounds good.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna go.
My favorite water tower is just outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, in Florence, Kentucky. And there's a mall, and they have a big water tower right next to it. And the mall people, they wrote Florence Mall on the water tower. And a little while, they found out that you can't advertise a business on a public utility company. So if you drive by it now, it says Florence Y'all. This is true.
good.
Now, maybe it's
great.
not still there, but for the whole time I was living in Cincinnati, it says Florence Y'all.
I like it. So it kind of rhymes. So
Yeah.
they get somewhat. I thought you just put like a big X through it or something.
No, it says they just do Y''ALL, and it's Kentucky, so y'all.
Some towns have the ones that they make it look like a big salt and pepper shaker. They'll put, or like hot and cold. Have you seen that?
Oh, the hot and cold's
To
pretty
be clever,
funny.
yeah, it's pretty good.
I fell for it.
Yeah.
I think, wow, I didn't know that. That's pretty good. Yeah, they don't have. So they were, a couple things happened. They weren't the first people to make hamburgers. They were the first people to make, it's argued that they may have been the first people to make hamburger buns. So back in the day, here's a few things going on here. When you got a hamburger, it was basically like a meatball on two pieces of bread.
Yeah.
And the bread didn't stand up very well to the meatball. Okay. So they were like, hey, let's give you something with substance that'll stand up to the meatball. Okay. And then this sounds like a bit of an urban legend. Walt was back there cooking, Walt or Billy, and they just got sick of that meatball. Or he got mad about something else. And just smashed the meatball down.
Had a bad day
with a spatula. He got mad and was like, well, maybe we should serve that. And it's that's how we got the hamburger it is today. The patty. Tim, I believe you told me at one point your dad pretty much still goes with the meatballs.
on the burgers. Yeah, he doesn't do a whole lot of mash. He's a very chill guy.
Yeah, he
now,
doesn't get
too.
mad about anything.
Years of therapy, so it's like he's just kind of.
Yeah.
We get him, and we're like, at least he's in a good mood. We're all gonna get.
Sean's hamburgers this razor thin.
Right.
It looks like
Can't take it anymore, man.
turkey that you get from the deli when they ask if you want a deli.
You know what I do when I make my? I keep thinking about that salmon shirt incident in Wisconsin, and it gets
just
me wound
beat
up.
on
I
it.
just,
Yeah.
I just can't believe I did it.
Also, they had like a suggestion box when you're like, hey, employee suggestions, like what should we do? And one of the cooks, a guy named Earl Howell, put a suggestion there and said, if we put holes in the burgers, they'll cook faster. And all the burgers it's patented. They all have, when they cook them, they steam them basically.
Right.
They don't flip them, I don't think. They steam them. And so they got like, they all have 5 holes, and that's why they cook faster. They're on like a bed of onions. That's not these. That's more the
The
sliders.
ones you think of, the
The sliders.
ones, yeah.
And
So can I ask you a question?
Lasagna.
Sure.
So just to be clear, and this is going to probably be kind of dumb.
Yeah.
So you're meaning like you cannot have a different burger joint poke holes in because it's patent? Is that what that means in that sense?
I think so. And that
Like-
one we might have to check.
We're gonna have to-
I think
All right,
that
so good
process is patented.
Interesting. I was just saying, you think more people would just do that, like just be like, okay, well, it just saves me time. You know, if you're in commercial,
But if you think
cooking.
about it, like they also have. Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah,
I
and
just
maybe
didn't
it's
know.
like you
What-
can't put 5 holes.
Yeah.
hey,
And
man,
these
it was
guys are doing
maybe
like
there's
3
loophole
holes. Or
and-
something. Yeah.
I'm just saying it would be a good workaround if you want to have a competing restaurant and you're like, yeah, I like what they're doing here, but So when it gets into that patent stuff, I don't know.
Especially with
that
food
world.
preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah, insane.
That's all. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was something we could do.
It's good thinking. You're really on fire today, Sean.
You are on fire, man.
Guys,
I'm
yeah.
impressed with a
Keep it
lot of
coming.
stuff that's
T-shirt.
going on here. I don't know where it's coming from, but yeah, keep it coming. They started noticing like these kids would like go up and buy a sack full of hamburgers. Walt was noticing, and then they'd sort of go around the corner, and they weren't like street urchin kids. They were like normal kids, and what they were doing is people were embarrassed to be buying hamburgers, especially back in the day. Mothers, heads of house, women that are running the household. They felt like, I'm a bad mom if I'm buying hamburgers. I should be at home cooking. And it's also sort of it still had the stigma of the jungle. Yeah. So he would see these kids basically they'd buy a thing of hamburgers and they'd go around the corner and they'd get in the car with their mom who was hiding like around the corner.
Oh,
She
didn't want to be seen going to the White Castle
or something.
Yeah.
Good.
So they started. I think that was part of why they started being like, "Hey, buy them by the sack." I think is their thing. Buy them by the sackful is what they say.
This is more hidden.
Yeah. There are a lot of White Castle copycats. Several White Castle copycats. There was a White Fortress. There was a White Hut. There was a White Tower in Milwaukee that got sued for $82,000 back in like 1929. That's quite a bit of money back in 1929. And also probably not a good year to be losing $82,000.
That's true, man. That's tough time.
Yeah.
Tough time.
Crystal, which is around today, that's basically the South's version of White Castle. And Crystal, again, clean as a crystal.
Yep.
They were kind of going after the same thing. My favorite White Castle knockoff restaurant, you know what it was called? White Castle. They just
went for it?
It was.
Where was that?
I don't know. There was a White Castle, and they said buy them by the bagful, not the sackful. There's nothing to
totally
do with it.
different.
It is straight up McDonald's.
Yeah,
right.
Straight up McDonald's. Buy them by the bagful, not the sackful. And they were like, no, they're White Castle. We're White Castle.
So
We pronounce the T.
Yeah.
You hear the T. Very, very different. It's not even the same thing. It was a good place to work back in the day, man. You got like I think way back in the day, you got between $8 and $30 a week, paid sick days, pension plans, promotion opportunities. They were mostly going after men from the ages of 18 and 24. They had like menu books and posters with slogans like "Give Mother the Night Off." Yeah, some cool stuff. They hired an actress to play a fictitious spokesperson in the same vein as Betty Crocker, dubbing her Julia Joyce.
Oh,
yeah,
made up.
And she'd go to women's clubs, and she would demonstrate White Castle products, showing how the hamburger could be the mainstay of a family meal. How do you show that? Like, here's a hamburger. Eat it. I don't know. What do you show?
Yeah, what do you want me to
I'm not sure what you see.
Look.
Yeah. Eat the hamburger. Yeah, but Julia, shut up and eat the hamburger, March. It's on your plate.
It's a mainstay.
It's a mainstay.
Eat it. It's a mainstay.
It's a mainstay. They're in 15 states. Who has the most White Castles? Randy? What state?
Illinois?
I'm going to say Missouri has the most White Castles.
I'll go Ohio.
It's Illinois. It's Illinois. I asked Randy. Tim had to weigh in and ruin the whole game. Illinois, then Ohio, then Michigan, followed by New Jersey, Missouri.
Randy, who has the least? This one's for you, buddy.
No, because this
one's for Randy.
There's 37 states.
No, this should be easy for him.
Well, I'm going to go with...
There's two I would go with.
Kentucky.
Kentucky actually is in the top 10.
You
Kentucky
always
has
go Hawaii.
Kentucky has a lot of White Castles. It drops off quite a bit after the top 10. But yeah, there's basically about 10 states that have multiple White Castles, and then there's, I don't know, 5 that have 2 or something. I'm guessing it's Vegas.
We got a ton.
Yeah, Nevada has them, So they are no longer in Wichita. Isn't that crazy?
It's my favorite thing. It's founded there,
in
and
Wichita.
then they don't even exist anymore.
Basically, the first fast food restaurant in the country, but it was in Wichita.
I love White Castle. I'm a big fan, but there's some health things associated with it, and I wonder if Wichita just didn't have the data. Wichita has the long-term data. They're like, yeah, we got to get this out, and the rest of us are like, what's the problem? Wichita's like, we've been studying this for a while. Well, you can't get one there.
Yeah, at one point, Billy basically bought out Walt. Walt was like, I'm interested in other stuff, and Billy bought him out, and he moved the company to Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty cool because there was a guy named, I think it's Jimmy King. Jimmy King he went to Columbus to help them get it off the ground and do everything. And Jimmy was like, hey man, I know you're shutting down White Castle in Wichita. I'd kind of like you to go back home and run a few of those restaurants. And he was like, you got him, buddy. You can't make them look like White Castle, but you got him. So he just sort of reforming them, and they had like 4, they were called King's X. And so Jimmy ran King's X for quite a while. Actually, they were.
Isn't that a band? Isn't that like a prog rock band? Yeah,
it is. King's X
is like a pretty popular prog metal.
Yeah, they were in the 90s pretty popular. Had a couple of songs. I don't remember what they were called though, but I remember the bass player was cool.
Yeah.
I make fun of Sean for saying some things that whatever. I made fun of him for the whole shirt incident, but I'm going to go ahead and confess for more years than I care to admit, maybe 30. I thought prog rock was rock from Czechoslovakian bands.
You really did?
Yeah, I really did thought that prog rock was like bands in the Czech Republic, and I was like, how did Triumph and Yes? They don't even sound like they're Eastern European.
It's just one of those hotbeds. They got their own.
I really did think that. I'm not, and it wasn't that it's just that I don't consider stuff. I'm like, I don't. It's
that's
not
what
my
prog
thing.
rock is.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's prog rock is. I never thought it through, but yeah, I thought that for a good long time.
Can we see if that's where they got their name, Randy? I'm curious about that.
King's X?
Yeah.
If they got it, yeah. If it's after that restaurant,
but yeah, you can't.
I think that might mean something too, though.
Yeah. X has multiple meanings, including an exclamation used in children's games and the name of a band.
Huh. Okay, maybe it was. Maybe are they out of Wichita?
Oh, they're from Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, look at this!
Wow.
Members.
Okay.
You know who was born in Springfield, Missouri?
Greg Warren.
This guy.
Yeah, man. Warren was, and Cashew Chicken.
Oh yeah, Cashew Chicken came from there.
Wichita, though, so many fast food places were founded in Wichita, and
restaurants.
To this day, they'll still test out concepts there. So it's still. We were in Wichita not too long ago, and you can find things that are very clearly like pitching to be a chain, and there's a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, Tim and I did a gig in Wichita, and we went to like a couple places that looked like they were trying to get started. That Mediterranean place was amazing.
So Medis, I think.
Might have been Medis. Might have been somewhere else.
Something
actually.
else.
But
okay.
yeah, but yeah, it was really good. And Medis is good from what I remember.
Yeah.
But Tim, another guy we're working with, is a pretty heavy set guy. Pretty heavy set guy. And Tim's not. And I go to pick him up the next day for lunch, and he comes out, and I'm like, what? He's like, looks like a mess, man. Like Tim doesn't drink. I'm like, what are you partying? He doesn't drink. He's never drank. So I was like, what have you been doing? Drugs? He doesn't do drugs. I was like, what's it? I go, what's going on, man? He's like, this was a late night, man. And I go, what happened, man? He goes, me and that guy, we went to Denny's, and I'm like, hey, man, you can't be hanging out with these guys. It was just like he got. It was like peer pressure.
Sure, man.
Yeah.
Bad influence, man. He got sucked into the dark side.
And it happens. He's right.
I remember
it happens
this,
to me
man.
every time I work. That's late night at Denny's.
It was just hanging out with a guy that was a little heavy set at Denny's until like
big guy.
Hey, man,
And
these guys.
I know.
Come on, man.
Yeah, he was shook. I remember the story. He was shook.
I'm like, you can't. Those guys are used to that sort of thing.
I know.
Man. That's in their DNA, man.
The Sundays, and we just
let's get another round. Let's get another round. I don't usually do this. No, you're gonna love it. Yeah,
I can't work with big guys anymore.
Tim, let's get to some fun facts.
Some fun facts. Let's talk about White Castle in pop culture. There's all kinds of stuff. But the movie, the movie White Palace.
Yes.
The original title for the film was supposed to be White Castle. The novel even makes reference to a specific real White Castle location. It's all set right here in St. Louis. The author of the novel that then became the movie said it all there. So it's the one at South Grand and Gravois in South St. Louis. But the restaurant chain, White Castle, said, no, you cannot use the name. It's trademarked. You can't use it in the novel, can't use it in the film. So they had to change it.
Sticks in the mud, if you don't mind me saying.
No, I totally agree. Because they don't, that's got to be tough for a brand to decide how's it going to be portrayed.
Yeah.
Obviously, they went big on the Harold and Kumar.
There was.
It's a big part of it. But anyway, so there's an independent diner at the intersection of North 18th and Olive Street, just west of downtown St. Louis. That address is even given in the film as a plug for the diner. So
Isn't that awesome?
Yes. And then after the film came out, they were like, well, I'm going to capitalize on this movie. So they changed the name of it to White Palace. But then the studio said, you can't change it to White Palace. That's the name of our movie. So they ended up at White Night. That's what it's called. It's still there.
Right? Yeah,
I used to work right down the street, did a radio show.
Oh, yeah, the radio
right down
show.
the street.
Man, it is like you're going on the street, you see these buildings all look, that building looks way different than any other building, right? It's like silver kind of.
And you can tell it's totally has the White Castle kind of diner
vibe to it. But even
it's pretty cool.
Glitzy, like it's kind of chromed up a little bit.
And then they have like the writings on the like the almost like a used car lot where it's like look at all this stuff. But it's kind of funny. The studio fought to get the name, and then the studio wouldn't give the poor little place in St. Louis.
You guys, you know what happened to you? It was just some jerk at the studio. Was like, nah, man. It was either lawyers that said don't do this, or it was some guys like, let's make them pay for it. Let's make them pay a bunch for it. And they're like, we're not going to pay for it. They're like, well, then you can't have it.
That's it.
That's probably what it was.
Yeah, they want to get paid, man.
But the guy, the author, Glenn Savant, who's no longer, it's a real interesting story. The guy got into kind of some dark stuff. He wrote this novel. It became this big movie. Susan Sarandon and
James Spader
are in it. Really big movie. And then he met an early demise, but he is cousins of our friend Courtney Landrum. From the old radio show. They're cousins.
Whoa. Courtney, the
guy who wrote
we
it.
haven't figured out what we're going to do on this podcast as far as guests. We may go with like we will have guests at one point. I think we'll probably have a fourth every now and then, but I think I kind of like the Nateland model where it's like regulars, not necessarily like a new guest every week.
Yeah.
It's like, and if we do, Courtney Landrum, she's one of my really, really great friends, and she is really funny, and she runs a radio show here in St. Louis where Tim has worked, and she ran another radio show that I was on when I first started doing radio. She's very funny, and she will be one of the guests.
Yeah.
So we'll get her on this podcast.
Sean and I will talk about it. And,
we'll get to that. You guys.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're just like calling everything right now. So Tim and I will have a discussion while you're in a different part of the building, and we'll go from there.
We'll get back to you early next week.
Courtney will be on the show.
How that's going to go.
Actually, maybe Courtney in place of one of these guys or both of them.
Is that right?
Look at that, threatening.
Very interesting. More White Castle in pop culture. Obviously, the Beastie Boys, big fans. The Beastie Boys reference White Castle in several songs, most famously in Girls. From White Castle to the dun, 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 dun. Smithereens have a song called White Castle Blues, and then obviously Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. Originally, Harold and Kumar were going to Krispy Kreme. So I don't know exactly if Krispy Kreme said no way and they switched it to White Castle, but
really,
and maybe White Castle was still hurting. They're like, we missed out on this White Palace thing. That's Susan Sarandon money.
Yeah. You always wonder. Like the person that made the decision that wound up costing them money,
totally
the minute that E.T. went through the roof with Reese's Pieces because it was supposed to be M&M's, and M&M said no. I believe the minute that Reese's Pieces that movie went through the roof, everybody over at M&M Mars were like dead, screwed. Like there's some guy guy or girl that they know was like he is going down.
It's in everything, man. There's a great 1979 U2, the band. They try and go on this label, and whoever at the label was just like, guys, I just don't see it. Really, just we want no part of what you're doing at all, so we're gonna pass. And whoops, I think.
But those people keep working. We did an interview recently with the guy who wrote Back to the Future, and that script was around forever, and they took it everywhere, and people kept saying time travel movies don't make money. And they were like, "This is weird." The guy, his mom's hitting on him. They had all these reasons that are logical, but it was Back to the Future. They got 3 enormous movies out of it. But I think those people, nobody gets fired because you passed on.
Right.
That's just not how. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
that's not how it works. They should all be fired.
Spielberg passed on this podcast.
And he's going to regret it.
He is going to regret it.
He'll keep making movies, and that's fine.
Honestly, I saw a call from the LA area after the Duncan episode, and I thought it was Spielberg. It was spam, but I thought it was Spielberg because just saying I'm sorry or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Sean and I are also in talks about having him on too, so we'll keep you posted.
Spielberg.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, it might be on. James Cameron, very strong chance.
He's very interested.
On, so.
It's just
he's at the bottom of the ocean now a lot. He's whining around in those tanks, and
he's been a little needy too. Like if they want it too bad, it's like, is this going to be fun or are they going to be weird when they're in the
room? Yeah.
You know how Cameron can be.
Yeah. Hollywood stuff,
100%. Hollywood stuff is right, Sean.
Yeah,
you said it.
Sean, you ever been to Hollywood?
I was with Tim.
Oh yeah, you guys helped me.
Oh yeah, Tim worked on Nikki Glazer's show.
And I put him in an elevator at my apartment. Had an elevator.
Put me,
And you didn't
terrifying.
like it.
Sean's terrified of elevators.
Hate it.
I want to get to that because I would imagine, Sean, what's the best elevator brand out there?
Guys, ride an Otis. If you see an Otis, generally you're safe.
So Otis will be a brand.
Otis is there for you. They're credible.
Listen, no elevator is 100%.
In fact, I think our next podcast should be on Otis elevators. That's not even a bad thought.
We will do an Otis episode. I'm not sure when, but it'll be in the first season.
Well, it should be for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Otis. I think they have a good call button. I think they have a fire department.
Right now, we also may do an armchair episode. Because
what's that?
Because Sean tends to use the mic stand as an armchair.
Yeah. I know. You just drive through.
We can move.
You want me? That I did not mean to do, but
yeah, you started this podcast so hot, man.
Yeah. Now you're screwing up.
You've really,
there we go.
Better wrap this thing up before you.
Sorry, where were we? We were talking.
We're talking
Otis elevators. You don't like elevators. Yeah. You came out to Hollywood.
Oh yeah, I don't like elevator. It's just an irrational thing. To explain it makes no sense. I feel like it's going to get stuck. It's never going to open. I'm going to rot forever in there.
That was the worst I've ever seen you. I think you were there a couple times, but you were there to help me move out, and I just was in the heat of all of it. Was like, hey man, take these things down the hall. I'll meet you down there, and then you were sweating and you were pale. I felt so terrible. It was 2 floors.
Yeah, it's not the floors. It's the trap. I don't care if it's 100 floors. It's locked in a box.
Yeah.
I don't want any part of it, man.
But if it's an Otis, you got no problem getting in.
I mean, look, I'm still not crazy about riding it, but it's peace of mind, man.
Sure.
Brand wise, they have a reputation, and they, I don't know how much they get stuck, but if I have to go on one and I get to pick, I'll take the Otis all day.
Okay. Well, we will do Otis.
I mean, Greg's like that with heights. He's not a big height guy. He'll do it.
Oh yeah,
can't stand him.
Can't stand it.
We did a photo shoot. All of us were there on a high dive over at Clayton Shaw Park.
Yeah,
and it was so fun. Are you weird about heights?
No,
there's no problem with it.
No problem.
Greg was like crawling to the end of it. I don't even know why do we even get on that high dive? I guess it was an iconic St. Louis thing. And Greg is on his hands and knees getting out to the edge of the high dive, but it was great. You did a great job.
Yeah, but you see, at least that's rational. There's millions of people who just don't.
No, a lot
it
of
was
people,
a high dive. Worst case scenario, you got wet.
I don't know the best brand of high dive.
That's
Otis
true, man.
also is in the high dive.
They're also in that.
Yeah,
they make a board
you're going up or down.
Good.
Yeah,
that's their thing.
Yeah, pogo sticks. They make a really nice pogo stick.
Yeah.
Any more fun facts?
Yeah, we got a few more fun facts. White Castle funded a study to prove hamburgers were healthy. Right? Bernard Flashy, a Minnesota med student, ate nothing but White Castles and water for 13 weeks. 13 weeks, that's all he had. White Castle hamburgers and water. He became a doctor. His daughter later said after that study, he never willingly ate hamburgers again. Somebody was making this guy eat hamburgers against his will.
It's criminal.
He never willingly had them. There was the incident.
The hamburger force feeding.
Des Moines.
Tape him down.
Poor guy. But they tried to prove it that, hey, it's healthy. And people would, I was talking to a friend about a certain White Castle, and he was like, the manager there was one of those situations where White Castle paid for this guy to go to school to become this manager, and he just loved White Castle, and he would always quote that study.
Yeah. I read a little bit about this guy. He died young too.
Really?
He died like 54. Whew. And it probably wasn't because of I think it was like 13 weeks.
Somebody force fed him hamburgers.
It could be that too.
Died,
yeah, the force. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's like, well, didn't the Atkins doctor die of like heart disease?
Really?
Doctor,
I don't know.
or something.
I know who Dr. Atkins.
I
is,
swear,
yeah.
he definitely died, and he had some health issues, which that I don't know. Look, dude, that's a whole different world.
The exercise guy died of a heart attack back in the 50s or whatever. Who's that guy? Randy?
Exercise guy?
Guy always talking about exercise. Oh. He was like the first guy to be
Body
like,
by Jake.
No, back
Great
further.
guess.
The only one I could
Exercise
think of
guy
is that
dies
Jack
heart attack.
LaLanne.
Simmons?
He was old.
It's Jack LaLanne, I think. I think Jack LaLanne.
He was old.
I think he died of a heart attack. How old was
Jack
he?
LaLanne.
Jack LaLanne died 1951.
No.
No.
You can't read. He hosted a televised exercise program, which he did in 1951.
Okay.
With the Jack LaLanne show, he became a household name, blah, blah, blah. When did he die?
How did he die, Randy?
Look at how old he is in that picture, dude.
Yeah, I know. I think he's 130 in that
he
picture.
died as naturally as you could want to die.
I could have this wrong.
You're thinking of somebody else.
No, it was LaLanne.
No, LaLanne. Just do LaLanne Wiki.
No, I'm just saying I think I was wrong. Yeah, you could Google how did Jack LaLanne die?
And this guy was who? He was a big fitness guy? And
The Godfather
Jack
of
LaLanne.
fitness. Yeah.
He'd be old and he
He
would
died
be
of
doing
pneumonia.
one-handed
All right, I got this wrong.
Pneumonia. He was 96, Greg.
96.
96.
Yeah. Swing and a miss, buddy.
Yeah, the guy.
Yeah.
That's the whole
Yeah.
exercise is just a bust.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could have made it to 100.
Guy died at 90. Yeah, you're
Taking
right.
care of himself.
You're right. If he would have just stopped exercising so much.
He would have been 100.
He often said, I can never die. That would ruin my image.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Good old fashioned pneumonia at 96.
Man,
That's a pretty
I got
good
that
way
one
to go.
wrong. I
96
wonder if
is
there's
great,
somebody
man.
I'm thinking of that died that was an exercise person, but yeah, screwed that up.
Richard Simmons.
Wait, he just died.
Hang on. A little more on Jack LaLanne. Just reading this right now. Did you see his spouse's name? His wife's name was Elaine.
LaLanne. LaLanne.
They were married for 50 years.
Oh,
One
my
time
God.
you should.
Elaine LaLanne.
Elaine LaLanne.
Yeah. You think she was like, I can't go out with you. I cannot go out with you. And because if this goes anywhere, I cannot be Elaine. Maybe she liked it.
Elaine LaLanne.
Yeah, it's a good conversation piece for you.
That's awesome.
Really good.
We went to White Castle today.
Man.
And I got to tell you, Sean and I went to White Castle maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. And it was horrible. It was like one of the worst fast food experiences just from service. Like we got there, it must have been 20 minutes before they acknowledged that we were there, and they got everything wrong, and they were mean, and one of the only person, and there was a lady she was very old. I think she worked with Walt and Billy. Yeah, and she was actually pretty nice, but it was terrible. So I was like, "Oh, White Castle must be." No, we just got a bad White Castle because this one that we went to today, I thought was fantastic. It was clean.
Yep.
It was like kind of looked cool. The service couldn't have been better. Those guys were all over it, man.
Yep.
They were very friendly, knowledgeable, and I got a lot of stuff. Tim was late as usual, but Sean and I got a lot
26
of stuff.
minutes. Yeah, we got some stuff.
Yeah. I think my favorite thing, again, I like this 1921 burger. It's just basically a small hamburger. It's not the onions and the smash down. It's a small hamburger. It's very good. I don't mind the sliders. I had just a little bite. I had a bite of the chicken ring. Not terrible. Onion rings, pretty good. The chicken sandwich, what'd you think?
Yeah, no, actually, the chicken was great.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed it. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it was good. It was good. By the way, onion rings, are they just either they're good or you don't like them? They all taste the same to me everywhere I've been.
Either they're good.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. It just, to me.
I see. Either you're not into onion rings.
You're not into them or you are. I'm just saying.
you don't like onion rings.
I'm saying on a blind
Got it.
taste test, you're not like, oh, this is definitely a White Castle, as opposed to like your local bar.
Well, no, I think there's very different kinds. I mean, you have the ones at White Castle that are the heavy breading, and then you have the ones there's barely any, and they're thin, and there's
Greg, that's calamari.
No. I could see the confusion. Yeah. No, okay. So
I think their onion rings are great.
Yeah, no, they were. I'm just saying.
It's a traditional onion ring. It's like a Burger King onion
Fries
ring.
are great.
Onion rings always taste the same to me wherever I go.
You had a breakfast?
Yeah, they got into the breakfast game not too long ago. I had a Belgian waffle breakfast sandwich. It was good. Got the job done. I have no complaints about it.
Impossible
and
slider?
then I had the Impossible sliders. White Castle I'm fond of for a lot of personal reasons, but one of them is they were one of the first in the game to offer a veggie burger. They now also I think they phased out their old school veggie burger, and now they have just an Impossible burger, which is their old one was not. It tasted terrible, but
at least they tried.
But at least they had one. You could just douse it and stuff.
So, do you know when you're eating a veggie burger? Do you know what you're eating? Like, what is it? What is it?
It's either like a soy product,
soy.
Like a similar to like a tofu, or vegetables, like a sort of patty of
sometimes they get some
peas and carrots and
there's some rice in there sometimes.
Rice, and then sometimes a combination cheese a lot of times.
But for a while a lot of places did like a black bean burger too.
Yep.
Yeah.
White Castle not in the black bean game.
No,
black bean game.
No. A lot of places do. But yeah, it was good.
One of the first to have an Impossible or a veggie burger.
Yes,
right?
which I was so grateful for. So I was going a ton, and now a lot of places have famously the Burger King has an Impossible Whopper, which is great. But yeah, I was very grateful when White Castle started doing it.
The Impossible slider they had, was it like a slider where it had onions and that kind of feel to it?
You have to ask for that, which is a little bit annoying because that's the whole. It's not hard to make. I make White Castles at home. I call them Castle Blacks because I used to make them when I did Game of Thrones. If you know Game of Thrones, you know what Castle Black is.
Yeah.
And I would make them, and they were I could nail them. You take French onion soup and you put it in with the fake meat, and it gives it that onion feel to it. It's fantastic. So it's not hard to do, but it's too bad that they're not going heavy on.
I never had that.
Yeah. What, my Castle Blacks?
No. There's a lot of stuff that you talk about forever that I never got to have.
All right, man.
I want that convy corn.
Oh, my uncle makes that.
The uncle makes the popcorn. You guys talked about forever. I'm a popcorn guy.
Never had that?
Never had it. And it really.
Whoa. Time out. Time out.
I got an uncle in the
convy corn is what? Your family makes their own popcorn?
It's called convy Irish popcorn.
Oh.
I have an uncle who's very, very passionate about
popcorn.
Making his popcorn.
It's what I want for Christmas this year.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Okay.
You've been saying
I didn't know this either.
I've dropped hints for years and you just don't do it.
Let me write it down.
Yeah, is that true, Tim? I mean, yeah, I'm new to this. I didn't hear about this convy corn thing.
I cannot believe that you guys haven't
never mentioned to me.
My uncle.
It just says convy.
It just says I hate Greg.
I know what it means.
It says I hate Greg. What?
I know what it means.
Yeah, but my name's nowhere on that.
Quit the podcast.
Show.
Yeah.
So one thing
Courtney.
we were talking when we were in the store today. There was one little thing I noticed. So they have this thing called Flippy the robot at about a third of their stores. Did you guys see this?
Oh, I read about it.
No.
So we went today. Now when we got there, we were like I don't think really many. It was pretty empty when we got there. But then I think it was right around like peak lunchtime hours, and it got pretty busy. So I go line and I go to the woman. I go, hey, do you guys have a Flippy robot making any of the food? She goes, no, it's just us. And I go, okay, do you have any idea what I'm talking about? She goes, not at all. It's just some crazy guy. Yeah. And then she's probably like, these people every day. I got to deal with it. Do you have a robot? Do you have a flying squirrel that drops off sauce? Nobody knows. But she was just like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have it.
I think she knew. She's in denial. She knows her job is not for long.
It was very nice.
I have two favorite personal White Castle experiences. One is my first summer in New York. It was the summer of 2001. I went out there for an internship, and I got
Where was that internship?
MTV.
Yeah.
And I was working at MTV. Never been in New York before, and I got an apartment with a buddy in the Bronx. So right in the middle of the Bronx, and I lived. If you would walk out the front door of the apartment building, 10 steps, you were at a White Castle. It's a famous White Castle that's been there for, I think, close to 100 years, this one, in the Bronx. And it was very much a Bronx White Castle. So there were things going on inside this White Castle that I assure you are at no other White Castle everywhere. You know how you walk down the streets in New York and there's the guy with a towel out and it's bootleg DVDs inside the White Castle? That was in one side.
You can't do that.
Another guy was walking around selling toys. And I mean, they must have had some, yes, specifically marionettes. So this guy is just doing marionettes in the corner of the White, and it was just like, oh, there's the guy. Obviously, I bought one. That was a memento of my first summer in New York City. Yeah. But it was just craziness. I was in there so much because I had just moved to New York my palate wasn't very refined then. I was a little bit freaked out by it's the bodegas, it's all these like local businesses. And at the time I'm eating chains all the time. So there's comfort in this White Castle. I was there several meals a day. They knew me. You could like negotiate your prices there. I'd be like, I'm going to need 4 sliders, 2 fries. Give me a chocolate milkshake, but in the collectible cup, which they weren't supposed to do. And I'd be like, I got $7. They're like, cool.
That's great.
Let's go. It was incredible. It's still there, right in the front. I have very fond memories, and it was just fantastic.
You think it's still wheel and deal today?
Oh yeah, I'd go right in there. I hope the marionette guy's still there. He might have had some health problems since then. It was a long time ago, but I mean, I'll never forget it.
I love negotiating when it's not really a negotiable situation. That's such a
chain
fun.
restaurant,
yeah. You're not going into McDonald's and being like, "What's your total? $11.50." I give you $8.
Yeah. What's the best you can do on some onion rings?
You just love negotiating. It's
it's so much fun, man. I just did now. I just did on a Toyota headlight.
I know.
They tried it.
Yeah.
I saved $400.
And I hate
That's
Toyota
impressive.
because they just reinforce this behavior.
Yeah.
Like I hate them for doing that because now when we go anywhere, you're just going to be like, well, I'll chop them up. I'll chop them up. I'll chop them up.
Oh, you wait, man. We're getting you a
How about
TV
if we
soon.
just pay what they ask? It's just not worth this whole process.
Listen, man, I'm a man of the people. They respect that. I promise you, right? There's somebody listening. They're like, yeah, you know what? That would be nice. You know, I could save.
Yeah,
You were a
$500.
man of the people, and then you used the word engender. And
Yeah.
the people turned on you.
Really? Yeah, you guys did not care for that.
That is not a commoner.
They're not. No one's cutting you deals.
I said engender, and what'd you say? Axel Roland. So it's just
Axl
kinda-
Rose.
Axl Rose.
I thought he was
No. What he said originally. I'm saying.
I said
know.
Axl Rose.
Axl Rose.
Yeah.
But he was trying. I thought he was trying to do a pun.
So did I, man. That's why it took me a
I didn't
second.
think
No,
he
I
got
think
it
I
wrong.
thought it was Axl Rose.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
My other White Castle is White Castle. You
That's
said
all right. One's enough.
Yeah, well, we've had it with that.
No,
White-
go ahead. What's the
White Castle moved the headquarters to Columbus. We used to play back in the Ludo days. My band used to play a venue in Columbus all the time that was called House of Crave. So White Castle launched a venue. The same idea as like House of Blues, right? So it's like Blues Brothers kind of tribute, and then they franchise them. They're all over the place. White Castle got into a similar thing. It was really a guy who licensed the White Castle name called House of Crave. So there was a White Castle restaurant inside this venue.
This is insane.
I know, it's kind of awesome. But I had a buddy who worked there, and he said it launched right as the smoking ban started in Columbus. So he's like, people would go home from the bar smelling like smoke, and then for 2 weeks they smelled like nothing, and 2 weeks later they went home and
smelled like onions.
smelling like White Castle.
Yeah.
And then all these artists would play I mean, we would eat so much when we go there, but all these artists would play there, and they'd be like on stage making fun of like the corporate sponsorship of the thing. But every single one of them is walking out with like 3 Crave
So you
cases
could
back
get
to the
White
bus.
Castle at the White Castle.
That's what I'm saying. You'd be on stage playing, and then back of the room, you'd see the guy at the grill.
That's
like,
amazing.
Sweating. Yeah.
incredible.
You'd walk in, the same way as you walk into a White Castle, you walk in and the onion, it just hits you.
Yeah.
That was this entire,
God, that's great. Man.
entire venue. Yeah, it was pretty good. Really cool.
I don't know what I was thinking. That's crazy.
Yeah. Awesome. And it could have been, it could have worked, but I think the smell, there's lots of reasons it didn't work. But at one point, a guy,
when you do these 1921 burgers, there's no smell. There's
At
no
one point,
onions.
guys sat around a table and they're like, we're going to have music venues all over the country that just.
Oh yeah, they thought they were going
House
because
of
there was probably
Crave.
a couple
hopes
of
and
good
dreams.
nights starting off, and they're like,
Totally.
this is it, man. This is the concept."
As a touring artist, it was cool. It's like, we're playing White Castle tonight. It was pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is good.
Sean, are there White Castles in Rochester?
There are not, man. So
Okay.
it was new. It was a St. Louis thing for me moving out here.
Yeah,
to St. Louis.
What'd you think when you got here?
About what? White Castle?
White Castle.
It was fine. I mean, yeah, I was indifferent. I
Not
mean,
a hit.
it wasn't bad. Just wasn't good. At the time, I was like taking care of myself, and I would never eat fast food when I moved here. So just wouldn't happen.
My mom grew up with him. My mom grew up in South St. Louis, and I think, man, I was maybe middle school when she was like, "I'm going to take you somewhere." And me and my mom went. Like, my brother was a pretty picky eater. He never would eat onions or anything like that. So he didn't go. It was just me and my mom. We went to White Castle, and I was like, this is amazing. I thought it was so awesome. So that was a big thing. My mom sort of, took me there, and I was like, oh, these are great. And she waited a long time. It wasn't like I grew up with them. She waited, which is cool. I think maybe as a kid, I probably didn't like onions that much. And then I started getting into like, I'm going to go out there a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I do remember it was very, like when we were out drinking sort of in college and home from college was a lot of when I ate the most White Castle. Like when we were home from college, my friend, there's the one that we went to actually. Out on Manchester in St. Louis, Manchester and Bear Station. I just like after the bars closed, everybody in town would sort of hang out in that parking lot.
Yeah.
And I just remember it was like another party. And and I was, I had a bunch of drinks and so I just ate way too many White Castles and you're a kid, so it doesn't really hurt your stomach that much. And then I remember there's another one in Maplewood. I think that one is no longer there. The building is there.
It was there until if it closed down, it's very recent.
Really? I could be wrong on that. Yeah. But that one I used to hang out too after the bars, and we were going to the bars downtown. And I remember seeing my buddy Rodney Alton in there. It was weird because wrestling's like it's an individual sport. So I wrestled in high school and college, but you kind of knew some of the guys from the other, like you as a football player, you probably didn't know the other guys from the football team or whatever, but I knew, or the baseball player, like I knew a lot of the wrestlers from all over the city. And Rodney Alton was a state champ from Maplewood. And I remember we ran into Rod Alton one night at the Maplewood White Castles, and we talked for a while. It was a good time talking. Rodney Alton, famous, his dad was a professional wrestler, Iceman King Parsons.
Get out.
Yeah, his dad was Iceman King Parsons. All right. Yeah, he was a big, and he was the state champ wrestler too. King was, as well as Rodney. Yeah.
We'd run into the other, I did plays, so we'd run into the other drama kids from the
school.
That guy just did the fantastic.
What are you guys doing? Our town this week?
We did our town. Yeah. I was George. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, you know what? As a matter of fact, the guy at White Castle was talking about it while you were in the bathroom. Yeah, isn't that dude? Isn't that the dude from our town?
I could tell the way he was
George,
looking at
isn't
me.
it?
I was George.
Yeah, he was kind of disappointed that you didn't order the hamburger in character.
Yeah, I know. People get like that sometimes if I'm not wearing the suspenders and I did our town in high school. I was a junior, and then where I went to high school, it was an all boys school. So we'd have girls from other schools would come in, and that was fun to do those. And
sure.
Yeah.
This girl was a year older than me that was cast as Emily in our town. I'm sure you guys are familiar.
It's a main, that's the main role, right?
George and Emily is all about.
Yeah.
And closing night, we have a kiss. Very, very aggressive kiss to the point where the audience, because it made people uncomfortable.
Whoa.
But yeah.
Was that in the script?
No, absolutely not.
Who did?
No,
who made it aggressive?
You
or Emily, or both?
She did.
This
girl was this is an older woman.
It was her side of the story.
And the director told her that was very unprofessional.
Really?
Yeah. But my performance still shone through, and
it did. Okay.
People still.
And you never dated Emily or anything like that?
No, I wanted nothing to do with her.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Just wasn't your type.
No. Didn't care for her.
Oh, didn't like personally. She's just,
did not like her at all.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I acted through it. That's acting, Sean.
Yeah,
it is what you do.
That's why you're a talented person.
People said we had unbelievable chemistry, and that was on me.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't care for her.
Pulled that off.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I did that. Maplewood McDonald or White Castle was across from TKO DJs where I worked in high school.
Yeah.
TKO DJs is a mobile DJ company, so we would go DJ weddings.
Formerly known as Technical Knockout DJs.
Yeah. Don't mock TKO.
No, my friends.
I'm gonna set a few ground rules.
That is hilarious.
Matt, well, you found it. Yes.
Yeah.
I hope that we do a TKO.
Wouldn't
podcast.
it just be KO?
No.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Exactly. You know what? You wouldn't want knockout DJs. You want technical knockout. We're not gonna blow you away.
Yeah.
But if you're
well, we play against the clock, and that bell's gonna ring.
Clearly.
We're not gonna blow you away. But I mean, it's good. It's strong. It's not gonna go on. The fight's not gonna go on.
Yeah, we're not gonna swing and hit you first round and knock you out.
You take it up with
technical
with Matt.
knockout DJ.
Save it for the TKO episode. Well, so
and my friends owned that for a long time. You worked for them.
Matt started it. He was my boss.
Yeah,
for a long time.
Yeah.
So we'd go DJ.
Jennifer. She owns a closet company, a big time closet company.
You want to make fun of that name too, or
no?
Okay.
And what is it? It's
St. Louis Closet Company.
St. Louis Closet Company. Yeah, it's not technically closet.
St. Louis
Closet
TKO
Company. DJs, which is if you're in the St. Louis area, it is the first name in DJing. So we would do high school dances, proms, weddings, bar mitzvahs, all of it, right? So all these different pairs of DJs would go throughout the town and do your shows, and then all come back.
You work in pairs for safety reasons.
Go to
it's very dangerous.
Takes a lot to put on that kind of show.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then we come back and it'd be fun. You tell the stories, all the different crazy things that happened, the songs you played, stuff like that, and hit up White Castle. It was great.
Yeah, so you guys would all meet up there and talk about what happened or what didn't happen.
Yeah.
We may do that as a brand at one point.
I would
TKO.
love it.
Would love to have Matt and Jennifer on. Your brother was one of the DJs too, right, Chris?
Yeah. Yep.
So
Both my brothers.
Kern was a DJ too. So we got to figure that one out because that time I bet you that was like a pretty cool time if you're like the young guy at a party, especially like a girls' school party or something. That must have been like pretty fun.
Yeah, we would do like lock-ins, graduation parties. It was fun. There's some I grew up a lot on that job.
Yeah. There's some older DJs that showed you the ropes.
Just met a lot of people from different walks of life that I didn't have a lot of exposure to. I was in high school. I mean, I think I was 16, 17 when I started working there, and it was a whole thing.
As you guys would guess from the Timothy Convey first, second, and third
junior.
Tim went to an exclusive private school. It's called Priory.
Yeah, I didn't know about this, and I remember someone's like, "Oh yeah, that's big money over there." That's
Yeah.
No, slow down.
What do you mean?
No one in either
Not
of your
you. I think you said it.
No one in either of your families have people named after other people. Be honest.
My brother.
Yeah,
my brother's Greg Jr.
There we go.
Okay,
you. There's got to be one.
Yeah, but it's like Lil Greg.
Oh yeah.
That's what we thought about going with Timothy. I was.
You just coin flipped it.
Yeah, I was going. I lost. She's like,
Yeah.
it's got to be the third.
This has been a fun episode for me. I learned some vocabulary from my buddy Sean O'Brien.
Yeah,
the
man.
last place I think I'd learn it. And we are, of course, at the end of every episode, we like to sort of talk a little bit about what we're buying. Sean, you said we kind of did get into the Toyota thing. You want to get into sort of...
Well, that's either I can do the Toyota thing or I can do the something else entirely.
Yeah, do that because we got pretty bored with the Toyota thing.
Good.
Just another story about you negotiating.
He started this thing so strong, though.
Yeah,
didn't he?
he did.
Yeah, his
Just
first
fell
20
apart,
on
guys.
this one.
Engender.
I'm getting a Fitbit,
Why? Aren't those
Really?
already...
which is hilarious because I probably won't use any of the information it tells me. But it's supposedly the new one is you can give yourself an EKG. It'll tell you if you have sleep apnea.
Yeah.
Definitely like a good sleep score type thing. Because I think there could be some issues with my sleep where I'm not sleeping right. And I think this might have been going on a long time.
I'm sure of it.
I know we've talked about this.
Yeah.
So
Because you sleep for about 14 hours a day.
sleep about 14 hours a day, but I might only really be actually sleeping like 3.
And you got a new cologne that you were telling me about on the way in here. What's the name of that?
So this is called Awaken,
Yeah,
which,
which
if you listen,
I'm not lying. He's got a cologne called Awaken. This
All
is
right.
a guy.
You guys-
You know how many times I've worked the road with him, and we're supposed to meet down at 9:30, and I call his cell phone. That doesn't work. A couple times I've had to get his room number and beat on the door. Like, and he's wearing a cologne
Just
called
swimming in
Awaken.
Awaken.
It's just it's inspiration.
Infused with
Just I
caffeine.
see that word. Yeah, exactly, man. Right? Yeah, I got a little
God.
caffeine. in it.
You're the hardest
just-
person to awaken that I know.
Well, that's why I'm starting from the ground floor here, guys. I'm
You
gonna
need
go
to get
in.
something called a sleep.
Yeah, that's gonna be
Just
that.
cover yourself.
But you know,
yeah, like oversleep would be a good.
if I hear that alarm and I crack my
Hibernation.
eyes and I see that Awaken bottle, I'll be like, yeah, what that said, man. That's what
Yeah.
I'm gonna,
Oh, you think that's gonna do
that's
it?
kind of how I'm
Yeah,
connecting
yeah.
the dots there.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of myself.
I'm proud of you too, buddy. Awaken, Tim. You got anything?
Man, I bought on this the family vacation. We went to, there's a cool shop in my brother's little town. It's called Keene, New York, and all kinds of cool stuff. But they had, I've looked for this for a long time. It was a little got like a guy in a luchador mask, right? So just the head, it was a bank. You put the money in the top, but this kind, it didn't have this dumb hole on the bottom, right? You put the money in, and then you have to break it to get it out. Which, as kids, I feel like those were much more common. And then all of a sudden they were always putting the little thing in there. You know what I'm saying? Where you put that money away and the only way you're getting it is if you break it.
Yeah.
And this thing was really cool, had kind of an antique look to it. I was really excited. Teach the kids about saving and put some money in there. It was just a cool looking thing too. So I spent money on that and then packed it in my suitcase.
What was it? Oh,
and it cracked. It's already
how much money were in there? How much money was in there?
Yeah. Nothing had been put in there yet. It was just in the thing. Yeah, I know.
Sounds like a shame.
I know. I didn't even check it to see if there was anything in there, but I was all excited about it. And I was all excited because you got to break this thing open and then it breaks before I ever even put money in it. $55 down the drain.
Right, man.
I think I'm going to buy a washer and dryer this week.
Wow.
You guys know brands at all?
No, Whirlpool. It's the way
Whirlpool?
to go. Yeah. And Maytag.
You obviously don't feel strongly about Maytag.
Well, you asked if we knew. I was
is there a brand
naming.
that I
I'm just
should be looking at?
brainstorming here.
Sean?
Sean,
I don't know. I can't sit here and say what I think is strong. We have a Samsung washer and dryer, and so far it's getting the job done. It's a little bells and whistly. Like
how long are they supposed to last?
I don't know. Well, if it was made in the 80s, like 20 years. Now, today, man, who knows? In 10 years, I'll say.
I think mine's 20 years old.
Your current one?
Yeah.
Both your wash and dryer?
Washer and dryer, 20 years old.
They're not as expensive as they used to be, right?
I agree with that.
It's not.
What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? I'm
I actually don't know. I just remember the last time I looked at it, I was like, that isn't nearly as pricey as I would have thought.
I'll tell you, well, what you'll pay is probably $2,000. What I will pay going with you is about $800.
Wow.
So that's what we can do here.
Because you're
Chop
going to
'em up.
negotiate for the washer and dryer.
Yes,
You think there's
man,
that
it's
much
retail.
margin?
All right, no, it's not 12. I could probably knock $500 off for the two.
Really?
Yes, man. I just knocked $400 off a Toyota.
Not at a big box place. If you
Well,
go
I'm
to
going to
like
go to appliance discounters because I know the guy that owns it.
oh, that's right.
Oh, well, then you can't chop them up then. If you know him, now you're dead.
He's not there. I knew him back in the day.
That's the problem with referrals. You got to kind of have to take it because you're like, hey, man, your buddy that you sent in here.
I don't think it's
Driving me
that.
nuts.
I did buy a bunch of stuff from them before, and so they know I'm a sucker.
Yeah,
like, they know I'm a
dude.
pushover. I'm
Yeah,
not
you
going to
are.
much. I just don't like doing it. But I'll see. Maybe I think I'll try to get free shipping and installation.
There you go.
Yeah, because I don't
Yeah.
want to install that thing or carry it.
No,
Well-
you can't install that.
Sometimes, man, it's a fine line. There's people who don't like to do it, and there's people who it doesn't matter because they have the funds to just pay what they're like, yeah, what is this? Yeah, what's the bill? Done. You
Well,
know?
those funds.
poor guys like me, man, this chiseling helps me in the long run. I need the money. I mean,
Man,
Greg,
man of
you
the people.
are. Greg is rich, everybody. Greg is rich. He pays 80% of my salary for the year, and he's still got money left over. So Greg is rich. So of course
He's buying you t-shirts in every city.
buy me t-shirts every city. That's what
do
we're
I
talking
get
about.
credit for
Yeah.
it?
No.
Officially, you do now, man.
No.
So
I think the last order of business. There's a case of hamburgers here. Randy, any interest? No. For your daughter or her boyfriend?
No thanks.
No, thank you. Tim, do you want a case of hamburgers?
No, thank you.
Sean, case of hamburgers?
yeah, I'll take it, man. I'll have
All
it
right.
for breakfast tomorrow.
Yeah. Will Heather eat that?
Good. No, that'll go right in the trash. But
She won't?
I don't know. Actually, she might.
She
'cause
likes
these
hamburgers,
are,
right?
These are the yeah. There could be a shot. So
Okay.
I'll make sure they somebody will eat
Find a good home.
2/3 of. Maybe we'll take them to open mic tonight. Up in,
There you
Great
go. Well,
idea,
I don't know.
yeah.
They're kind of cold by then.
I
Somebody
don't
needs to eat
care,
them
man.
now.
Those animals will eat anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Think so?
You've met
Yeah,
these
dude,
guys.
you met them?
You want to take
yeah.
a open mic?
Yeah.
All right.
Kidding me?
We have been the consumers. You have been consumed.